Hello and welcome. This is Eye on Port, a program that has been designed to bring Ghana's ports and maritime industry closer to you. It is proudly brought to you by Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL, PLC Serene Insurance, Ghana Link, Meridian Port Services, and Phoenix Insurance. Eye on Port is powered by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times. Viewers, today we are looking at best practices in fisheries management, taking a cue from a visit of our guest to the University of Rhode Island in the United States of America. We did this with Ristani Amafio, who is the Executive Director for the Blue Economy and Governance Consult, as well as Professor Dennis Aheto, the Director of the Center for Coastal Management at the University of Cape Coast, and Fred Intri Buedu, who is the Director of Fisheries Commission. This was an interesting discussion. Take a listen.
Don't you think that we still have a long way to go in terms of education and sensitization and getting the fisher folk to understand and appreciate the essence of sustainability in the fisheries sector?
Right. Thanks, Ken. Definitely, we have a long way to go. That is true. I'm saying that because of the fact that in the U.S. and, of course, in many developed countries, they use what we call science-based management.
Right.
Where the management of the resource and also the enforcement relies heavily on research data. And so when you have a system where the management relies on scientific information,
right,
and of course, what you said, in addition to working with the stakeholders, including the fishers, backed by very strong enforcement, definitely they will follow the rules. So that is what is happening in the States. When you come to Ghana, what we have is mixed management. I would call that mixed management. Mixed management in the sense that it's more on the level of policy development, policy formulation, fisheries development and fisheries management laws or regulations, if I may put it that way, with very little input from the science. Of course, in recent times, there has been quite some efforts in establishing the scientific technical committee, which is embedded within the Fisheries Commission, which is really helping to inform. But to what extent are we also mobilizing research information or research outcomes from all the universities, research institutions that are dealing on those issues and feed that into policy development? Or we creating a platform where research outcomes can be discussed with policymakers and the industry. So I think that the lessons that we learn from the U.S. actually provides us a lot of food for thought, in the sense that we need to do more than we are currently doing. Really rely on science through some mechanisms. At our center, we have tried to create a certain kind of platform, what we call a conference on fisheries and coastal environment. We've been running that since 2017. Last year, it culminated in the Blue Economy Conference, where we brought about 100 institutions from even across Africa, involving over 250 participants and all that. But that is what a university, that's how far a university can go, including bringing out communiques. But if those communiques are not implemented by the policymakers, so there needs to be a situation where industry, academia, and the regulators meet at a point and then look at the issues in terms of how we enforce, in terms of how we collect our data, in terms of how we harmonize them, how we look at limits. All these are known. Limits per catch, and also looking at the quotas, the creation of marine protected areas, fishing gear innovations. We're looking at even broader ecosystem-based management. That also brings on board the issues of climate change impacts, brings up the issues of pollution, which has become one of our major challenges in our fisheries sector. And even the issues of how investments in the sector from the perspective of subsidies, premix fuel and all this. So it's a real complex of issues, which is also backstopped by open access fishery. When it comes to the small scale sector, because this is an unlicensed sector. So even though the Fisheries Act is there, the Fisheries Management Plan. The new one is in, I think from 2022, 2026, which has itemized all these beautiful things we are talking about, and even mirrors what you have in the US.
Yes.
But the problem really we face is how we implement these things.
Yes.
So the implementation is a key issue. We need to deal with the issue of habitat degradation.
Right.
The galamsey happening is impacting severely on our coastal marine environment.
Yeah.
At our center, we've been able to develop and work on a lot of research that has really looked at issues of pollution and the extent to which it's impacting the ocean resources, including fisheries. We've looked at impact of premix fuel, for instance, on the fisheries. We've looked at many other issues of IUU and all that. But the real point I'm making is that there must be a meeting point, where regulators are sitting with academia and research and industry to develop a clear path in terms of how the management of the stocks, the fisheries resources, are backed by science.
Right.
Yeah. And once we do that, we also set up some monitoring and evaluation systems that we can help to follow up on the implementation outcomes. But I must also underscore the fact that there is clear data limitation when it comes to our sector.
Okay.
There's clear data limitation in terms of the science that feeds into the process. I know the FSSD is doing a lot.
Yes.
But they are also constrained financially and also other resource constraints.
Right.
The investees are not being funded. There aren't any national research funds to be able to conduct the needed research.
Yes.
So research funding is extremely important as well in order to push this sector. What we have done at the center basically is working with development partners to resource the researchers to do the science.
Right.
But we're doing this research for external agents. So to what extent is the government itself investing in research? And I will be happy to hear DG's thought on this issue.
Yeah.
Because then once government is funding research then it can make certain demands on the researchers.
Absolutely.
In order to tell us what the situation is, what the situation with the stocks are, work with FSSD or whatever, whichever institutions that are also working in the country to bring out the needed data that can inform policy. So there's a clear disjoint between policy, academia, and industry. But I strongly think that in as much as the burden lies on government or the regulator to bring all of us together, I think we as academics and industry should also forge ahead on this issue. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Sir Prof. I'm coming to you. Yes. You have some issues to add to.
Yes, I just wanted to add.
Yes, it's just the issue of research. Like the video was showing, Captain Beth.
Yes.
That's the research vessel for the University of Rhode Island. That's a university, not a country. We are a country, a sovereign state, a nation.
No, they also have a research vessel for the Rhode Island state.
State, yes, for the state itself.
Yes.
And the University of Rhode Island has its own research vessel, Captain Beth. This vessel. Now, in Ghana, the whole of Ghana, we don't have even one research vessel. And I know this has been a long-standing issue with the Regional Maritime University. They've spoken about it for ages, and nothing is happening. Mr. Nchibwedu, you are the regulator.
Okay.
What can you do? Prof has thrown the ball in your court that you need to do something about it.
Okay, so let me add a few things to what Prof said. I wouldn't say we are at level 0.
Right.
If we are comparing ourselves to US, in terms of technology, they are far ahead. And then again, if you are looking at the investment that they put in, compared with ours, it's also very wide. But notwithstanding that, there are a lot of research that we are also doing, and we are not doing it alone as a regulator. We are doing it with the academia and then the CSOs. And with some sponsorship coming from outside, they also even join us. Like the Norwegians are doing, USAID is joining, and then locally we have VJF, Yampuano, and the rest. So currently, research that is going on includes some status of the marine environment. The plastic pollution and climate change is also going on. industrial trough gear audit and modification of the industrial trough gear is also ongoing. The biological monitoring of the modified trough gear is also ongoing.
Right.
The canoe frame survey and then fisheries socio-economics is also being done. And then the artisanal and the inshore gear audit is also ongoing.
Right.
And of course, the close season is also being monitored. And then we have the Norwegians also partnering us on the nursing program.
Right.
Last week we had the STC and other institutions joining to have some training on stock assessment, which they are yet to start. So something is being done, but it is not enough.
Right.
Well, with the research vessel, I remember Minister of Finance promised one research vessel and then 2 patrol boats, but they are yet to get it.
Okay.
So we are still discussing with the industry too, because Nansen doesn't come often.
Right.
So we had them recently, but we are still discussing if probably they can give us one of the vessels so that we can also use it for that. But I think if you look at what happened in US,
Yes.
once they have it, you realize that the research that we did, especially when we went on fishing,
Yes.
we could see that this is very good.
Absolutely.
And that if we had to have it, that would be good. So I'm sure we'll definitely get it.
Right.
We'll definitely should get it.
Okay, Prof, you wanted to
I want to quickly comment on the issue of the research vessel.
Right.
The kind of stock assessments we do in Ghana basically relies on a system where we are documenting catches at landing beaches. So obviously what it means is that we don't even know where the fish are coming from. So we are doing stock assessment on a system where we don't know really where the stocks are coming from. So that is a major problem.
Right.
And that is why the research vessels are important, because then once you traverse the ocean, you know where you are getting the fish from. So when you do a stock assessment, you certainly know that these fish stocks are from here.
Right.
But then coming to the point of management, I am of the informed view that there's the need for a research vessel, but one that can be co-managed regionally, from a regional perspective.
Okay.
Because the management of a fishing vessel is extremely expensive.
Capital intensive.
It's capital intensive. We don't want a situation whereby we invest millions of dollars into a fishing vessel and we cannot manage it. One other thing we can do is to make sure that all the programs, the projects, the universities that are receiving some support for research, we come together and put in money into managing whatever that research. And it can be done if we can sit around the table and really plan for this. But Ghana alone, per the situation we have, cannot run a research vessel. It's extremely expensive. The cost of fuel alone, and even the people that will manage that vessel, you really need high-level capacity. Captains and other. I mean, it's an area that we need to really discuss carefully. Right. More often than not, we've spoken about we getting a research vessel, but in terms of the running and maintenance costs, we need to factor that and make sure that we get it right even before we go there.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Prof, let me come to Mr. Niama Matthew Richter. And Prof mentioned the issue of policy development and policymakers and the fact that they need to do something. And in our part of the world, we don't seem to have a lot of policymakers who appreciate the nuances and intricacies involved in the industry. And so don't you think that there's a need for some element of education, some element of sensitization to bring them up to speed with the exigencies of the time that we find ourselves in as a country in terms of fisheries management so that they can formulate the right policies and then ensure effective implementation? We might say we have the policies though, but enforcement or implementation has always been a problem. What do we do to bring our policymakers on the same page so that we can ensure that they do the right things for the industry to grow and develop?
Thanks, Ken. I'm not sure we lack persons who have clear appreciation. Probably we have more than we need. Right. Except that we've allowed partisan politics to make people not want to show their faces because if people get involved and work for one government or the other, persons may be identified as belonging to a political party. So That is one major challenge we have.
Yeah.
Probably when the political parties were writing their manifesto, there were a lot of knowledge in the universities and industry and other places. Some retirees who could just sit around the table and put together clear policies to guide how this country is run. Secondly, you see, we have also made it look like the ocean is there. When you go there, you take the fish. Some canoe had on them, sea never dry. So once the sea is not dried, there will always be fishery resources in there that they can always take. And the sea is drying as we talk now. You realize that we fished in a bay, and we were told that the bay was probably cleaner than some of the water they drink.
Yes.
And that people were even complaining that the bay had become too clean, that they were having challenges getting algae growing in the bays because the bay is so clean. Yeah. And at the University of Rhode Island, we saw some of the underground tunnels with a clear indication that it leads to the bay to warn people as to what they should pour into those underground tunnels in order that they don't end up polluting the bay. Yes. So, you see, in fisheries management, habitat is so crucial. Now, if you go to the western region, particularly areas that take their water flow from the Pra and then the Ankobra, you realize that the whole place is polluted. I understand some resorts are even closing down just because they are losing the quality of the water around the ocean. Yes. So we are, in the first way, we're taking out water resource management from fisheries management. And fisheries only survives in the sea. Yes. So when you take the habitat out and say you are managing the fishery resources, there is a problem. The Constitution provides for a fisheries commission because it is natural resource based. Right. So its management should be natural resource based. You go to Parliament and fisheries is under Food, Agric and Cocoa Affairs. That has absolutely nothing to do with natural resources. So the perception that fisheries is food. And so we first need to now look at managing fisheries as a natural resource. That is finite in itself, unless you manage it very well. Right. Because there are some fish today that we are no longer seeing, just like some species are endangered. There are fishes that are also endangered. So we need to think again about the fisheries management itself. Right. Probably use the ecosystem-based approach so that you manage the entire fishery and its habitat, and you look at the food chain and food web, basically everything. Yeah. We went to some labs at the and then you found what they were doing in the lab. Yes. It was not a very big lab. Yeah. Prof, I don't know when we went to the lab. You were there with us. No, I wasn't. Yeah, I think it was the opening ceremony when we went to the CRC campus, and it was. And they had a tuna lab, and then they have lab for crustaceans and other species. And it was not a very big place, but they had tanks that have been properly. And there was a student who was there. You realize that people are observing 24/7, and they were observing clam because she has to be sure that when it is gravid and it's time for it to spawn, they saw exactly what was happening and then they could record. So it was up to the time observation of everything that was happening in the lab. Real time, So, and that was one university. The last time we were at the University of Massachusetts as part of the study tour, they have a prune tank that they were trying their gears there to look at how the gears were going to perform. So, you see, we probably need to work more closely with the university because fisheries is not just an employment issue, it's also a food security issue. And so it is also a national security issue. So once you begin to lose the employment sector in the fisheries sector because you are not properly managing it, what it means that a lot of people are now going to lose their source of livelihood, and they become a threat to the state.
Yeah.
Because when they are unemployed, it becomes a challenge.
Yeah.
So you need to probably invest more than just what we are investing into fisheries, and just sitting back and say, okay, take fishing license or take fines and then use that to manage the fishery. We need to be conscious about fisheries management in Ghana.
Yeah.
We need to be more serious about how we operate within that space.
All right, so those were the thoughts of our experts on the best practices Ghana can replicate to improve the success and sustainability of our fishery sector. Now let us pick a few comments that you shared with us on the subject we have just discussed. After we will go on break and return with more news. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Jonas from Pram Pram. I'm very worried about the plastic situation at our beaches. I like to go fishing as a hobby. When I go fishing nowadays, I don't make a catch until hours, and the fish are simply too small. I suspect the plastic ingestion. What do you experts think? Hi Jonas, Mr. Enchubuedu says.
You know, plastic is a major challenge as it's one of the major environmental fallouts which we are facing in our country, and of course in many other developing countries. It would take more than 500 years for plastic to degrade in the ocean, research has shown. And of course they eventually become microplastics, they get into the food. So we are eating the plastics that are getting into the water. And so the key urgent action is to look at the consumption side. Let's educate the public so that we reduce the use of it. Once we are reducing and there's hardly any market for it, I think the producers will also begin to think.
Right.
Antonio Kokuvi says, indeed, the ocean has several abundant resources, especially fisheries resources, but that is not indicative of their perpetuity. They can run out. This discourse is important to propose ways by which these resources can be effectively managed, taking the US into consideration. Thank you for such an insightful discussion. Prof and the rest of the team, we are proud of the work you do.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefeel. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, streetlights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome to the GPHA port of Takoradi, Ghana's first commercial port. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority (GPHA) has in its quest to position the ports of Ghana as the leading trade and logistics hub of West Africa, embarked on a massive expansion drive at its Takoradi port, the first commercial port of the country. This has resulted in a radical transformation of the initial 7-berth low-drafted port, which was constructed in 1928, to an ultra-modern port fitted with deep drafted container, multi-purpose dry bulk, and liquid bulk facilities. The 16-meter deep dry bulk terminal is the deepest in the sub-region, with a total quay length of 800 meters. It is fitted with a combined 3-kilometer length conveyor system, which comes with a 2,500 metric tons per hour ship loading capacity, which has greatly improved ship turnaround time at the port. The Marshall Liquid Bulk Terminal is a fully automated liquid bulk facility dredged to -14 chart datum and equipped with automated firefighting system. The facility is fitted with 5 loading arms for gasoline, diesel, LPG, bitumen, and heavy fuel. On the container side, Takoradi Port's 16-meter deep Yield-Port and ATSL container terminal with a quay length of 600 is expected to receive container vessels in the third quarter of the year.
Welcome back, viewers. Now it's time to take our local news segment.
The Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority has celebrated its 25-year anniversary with a public lecture on navigating the future through innovation and excellence in public service. The Silver Jubilee was marked at the University of Ghana's City Conference Hall, with participation from allied public sector officials and industry stakeholders. This year's celebration also served as an opportunity to reflect on the progress of the DVLA from a state agency plagued by allegations of corruption and inefficiency to a reformed institution thriving on the basis of digitization. The Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Kwesia Jiman Buzia, attributed the success of his outfit to deliberate strategizing and a shared commitment to excellence.
Today, we stand as a budding beacon of integrity and efficiency in public service. Through the relentless commitment to our strategic plan's foundational principles of people, process, and technology, supported with transparency, accountability, and service excellence, DVLA has undergone a remarkable evolution.
His thoughts were corroborated by other speakers who were full of praise for the leadership role DVLA has assumed urging other public service organizations to emulate the authority.
When I assumed office in 2002, the total staff strength was 202. And out of the 202, there are only 2 graduates, implying that less than 1% of the staff were graduates. Today, I'm reliably informed that over 90% of the 740 hardworking staff are graduates of various qualifications and professional accreditations.
On this occasion of this anniversary, I urge you all to remain committed to the vision of becoming a world-class licensing authority, delivering exceptional services and promoting road safety.
I get worried that I don't hear much about what we will do about the public sector, because unless something fundamental is done about the public sector so that we have many DVLA stories, we have nowhere in terms of the future for this country.
I have just started a second discussion with the World Bank to finance some of these institutions. And the first institution I mentioned for a second phase of support was DVLA, because of my own experience with them. So I mentioned specifically 2 institutions, DVLA and the Passport Office. These institutions have had a remarkable change which has reflected on their service to the Ghanaian community.
Some successes chalked up over recent years at DVLA include the introduction of the Smart Card driver's license, the enhanced driver license application system, the rollout of digital transport and support systems DTSS, the electronic vehicle registration system, and the digitization of manual vehicle records, among others. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer in charge of the operations at the Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority DVLA, Prince Opoku Edusei, has revealed that plans are underway to launch an initiative soon that will track the movement of vehicles that transport cargo from the ports into the hinterlands to support existing government efforts.
There's already a project that we are going to roll out very soon, where trackers are going to be placed on some of these heavy goods carrying vehicles to ensure that when they leave the ports, where they claim to be their final destination is exactly where they are headed.
Speaking on the sidelines of the DVLA's public lecture at the University of Ghana to mark the authority's 25-year anniversary, the head of operations at DVLA also revealed that his outfit is working on digitizing direct from port car identification plates.
Also rolling out a project to digitize our DP plates. And so instead of DP, which we all know lasts 14 days, fixed on a car that drives out of the port, we are going to issue a sticker. And that sticker means that the details of that vehicle would already be in our database, because that, as far as we are concerned, is the birth of any vehicle in this country.
He also emphasized how the construction of the Buankra Integrated Logistics Terminal could improve safety.
We all know of the Buankra Inland Port project. I believe that that would come on stream very soon, and is spearheaded by our minister, the Minister for Transport. That would help ensure safety on our roads as far as these HGVs are concerned. They cause a lot of accidents, we all know, and so we believe that when that comes, it will help reduce the breakdowns that we usually see, which cause some of these accidents.
Director of Driver Trainee Testing and Licensing at DVLA, Kafui Semavo, encouraged applicants to verify amounts charged with receipts in order to avoid falling prey to unnecessary extortions from Goro boys.
I mean, you've paid. It's your right to get that receipt, yes. And every time you get a receipt, reconcile with what you've paid. What we are going to be doing soon, my colleague spoke about, is that the DVLA app, when it is operationalized, what will happen is that every product you obtain for DVLA, you can verify it and know how much you paid for it. So when the product is given to you and the app cannot verify it,
the Ghana Navy plays a crucial role in protecting the country's territorial waters from pirates and other illicit activities. In addition to this important duty, the Ghana Navy also takes time to enjoy good music at the right moment. Over the weekend, the Ghana Navy organized an end-of-course band concert to showcase the musical talent of its members to stakeholders at the Eastern Naval Command. Graduates of the Ghana Navy Music Graduates of the Ghana Navy Music School, grouped into the regimental band and dance band, treated the audience to various genres of live band music. The guest of honor for the occasion, Flag Officer commanding the Naval Training Command, Commander Solomon Isiedulabi, urged the graduates to continue exhibiting discipline and hard work in the discharge of their duties to achieve the ultimate objective of the Ghana Navy.
As we enjoy the music today, let us remember that this concert is not just an end, but the beginning of a new chapter in your lives as musicians in the Ghana Navy and the Ghana Armed Forces at large. You have been equipped with the skills, knowledge, and discipline to serve your nation with pride.
Certificates were presented to graduates who excelled during the 6-month music course.
Let us now turn our attention to the global stage and pick a few international shipping and maritime related news.
Chinese majors COSCO Shipping Heavy Industry and COSCO Shipping Container Lines have signed a contract for the construction of 12 14,000 TEU container ships with dual-fuel methanol propulsion. The new ships belong to a new generation of ship types developed jointly by COSCO Shipping Lines, COSCO Shipping Heavy Industry, and the China Shipbuilding and Ocean Engineering Design and Research Institute. With a length of 335.9 meters, a width of 51 meters, and an invisible bulb bow and stern energy-saving device, the new vessels adopt innovative design and advanced technology. They offer a large loading capacity of 13,700 standard containers. Italian shipping company Grimaldi Group has taken delivery of the 5th energy-efficient multi-purpose roll-on roll-off ship from South Korean yard Hyundai Mapo Dockyard. The vessel, Great Casablanca, which belongs to the innovative G5 series, features a length of 250 meters, a beam of 38 meters, and a dead weight of 45,684 tons. The new series of ships feature technological solutions aimed at increasing energy efficiency and reducing environmental impact.
This is now the time for our Word of the Day segment, where we bring words, phrases, jargons, and abbreviations that we often use in this industry so you can get familiar with them. Today's word of the day is bay.
Block stowage refers to storing cargo destined for a specific location close together to avoid unnecessary movement.
Let us take a look at the schedule of vessels that have berth in the ports of Tema and Takoradi and at the anchorages of both ports, as well as those expected in the coming weeks, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rates, which you may need to know to clear your cargo with. This brings us to the close of today's edition of Iron Port. We hope you've been informed and educated. Remember, all Iron Port content can be found on our YouTube channel, Iron Port. Like, subscribe, and share our videos.